finally, rounding out the top 10, the Edmonton Oilers. Well, this team is in desperate search of an identity, and a familiar face to all Leaf fans. Pat Quinn is hopefully going to deliver that to them. Now, the first thing they got to do, of course, is start finding some players. Now, oddly enough, I think the guy they're going to take here is not a defensive giant by any stretch of the imagination, which, of course, everybody says they need, but I'm going to call it anyways. Dmitry Kulikov from Russia. He's a very offensive-minded defenseman, but the simple fact of the matter is he can move the puck, he can throw his weight around a bit, and he has got a lot of skating skill, a lot of offensive upside. Not the greatest defensive defenseman, but good enough in his own end to hold his own. This is a guy that the Oilers need if they're really going to change things with the team. So, despite the fact that he's not a big defensive juggernaut, this is the guy they're going to take. Kulikov to the Oilers. Picking 11th overall are the Nashville Predators. Pop quiz hotshot. What did J.P. Dumont, Steve Sullivan, Jason Arnick, and Radek Bonk all have in common? Answer, they're all in their 30s, and with the exception of Dumont, well into their 30s. We all know the Predators have got a very good young defense. They've got to get a forward. That forward is Nazem Kadri, playmaking center from the OHL. This guy is going to Nashville. Book it. Done. Coming in next are the Minnesota Wild, who, much like the Atlanta Thrashers, are faced with a very real possibility that their franchise player is gone. Marian Gaborik has made no bones about the fact that, well, he wants his money and he's going to get his money. Unfortunately, he's not going to get his money in Minnesota. The good news is they can get somebody in, that would be Saku Koivu, by offering him the chance to play with his brother Mikko Koivu. The bad news is Saku Koivu is not going to fill the gap that Marian Gaborik is going to leave behind. They've got to find themselves a wheelin' and dealin' offensive forward to kickstart that team. That is Scott Glennie of the Brandon Wheat Kings, line mate of Braden Shen. This kid can fly, and he can get the puck in the net or to the guy who'll put it in the net. Scott Glennie is going to the Minnesota Wild. Selecting at lucky number 13 are the Buffalo Sabres. Credit to Darcy Regier, he has been adding size to the team in recent seasons, which is always a good thing for a team that was woefully unprepared for the physical grind of the playoffs. Unfortunately, two of his top defensemen, Greg Gervais and Yaroslav Spacek, are 35 and getting older every single minute. Last year, they picked up the giant Tyler Myers for their blue line, and if they're smart, they're going to pick up another big defenseman, Simon Despres, out of Laval, Quebec. Some scouts don't like the fact that he doesn't use all of his skills just yet, but he is only 18 years old. There is room to grow. And at 6'4" and 215 pounds, well, there could be even more growing at this rate. That him and Myers together could be an extremely potent defensive force for the Sabres going forward. That's who I'm saying is going to Buffalo. Selecting 14th are the Florida Panthers, who, much like the Colorado Avalanche, make this pick so easy for me. Jay Bouwmeester, he's gone. They have to replace him, and the best man to do that, Oliver Ekman-Larsson from the Swedish Elite League, was not on the World Junior roster. It was mostly a maturity issue with him. He just mentally wasn't old enough to handle it just quite yet. But the simple fact of the matter is he is a pure offensive defenseman. He makes terrific passes, is a fantastic skater, has great vision, easily one of the top offensive defensemen in the draft. Gonna get passed over for a few reasons, but he's a solid pick for the Florida Panthers. That's where he's going. Next up are the Anaheim Ducks. Well, a couple of years removed from a Stanley Cup championship, things have they've hit a bit of a rough patch in Anaheim, and they're going to be in some transition right now. Two names in particular stand out to me. That is Rob Niedermeyer and Todd Marchand. Both are in their mid-30s, and quite frankly, they're going to have to start looking at replacing these guys. And when you're looking at replacing two guys like that, the one word that comes up is, of course, dependable. And when you think dependable, you think Swedish Elite League. And when you think Swedish Elite League, you think Jakob Josefsson. This guy had a terrible World Junior, but he was fighting the stomach flu the entire time. He is, in the words of just about every scout, the prototypical Swedish player. Good skater, can play both ends of the ice very, very well. I think Anaheim should go with him, Josefsson, to the Ducks. Selecting next are the Columbus Blue Jackets. Congratulations, guys, on making the postseason for the first time. You want to keep making the playoffs? You gotta keep up that in-your-face style of hockey. You want to keep that up for years to come. The guy you want to draft, 6'3", 200-pound right winger, played for the Peterborough Petes, Zach Kajan. He's got all the tools to be another Milan Lucic, and believe me when I tell you that's who the scouts are comparing him to. Got a few holes in his games, did not have a very good postseason in Peterborough this year, but again, 18 years old, he's got room to grow. This is a very, very safe pick for the Columbus Blue Jackets to make a power forward to develop in their system, come up, help out their centers. I'm saying Zach Kajan to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Picking next are the St. Louis Blues, who now have the luxury of going with the take the best player available at your position option. That player being Ryan Ellis out of Hamilton, Ontario. We all saw him at the World Juniors, and the basic assumption, of course, is that he's just a power play kind of guy. Well, it's true. He can quarterback a power play like nobody's business, but he's also got a great shot, terrific skater, and amazing puck control. The only reason he was, the addition to the World Juniors that he was the size issue. He'll need to be paired with a bigger defenseman, but I'm fairly certain that St. Louis can provide that if necessary. I'm saying Ryan Ellis to the Blues. Selecting next are the Molson Canadiens. Well, it's going to be an interesting summer in Habland with the vast amount of unrestricted and restricted free agents. They're basically going to have to remake this entire team in the next couple of months. Saku Koivu likely gone. Alexei Kovalev probably want to keep him around. Big question, of course, is Mike Komisarek. The rumor is he wants somewhere between $5 to $6 million with a 5 to 6 year deal. That's not going to happen, Mike. And Montreal is going to have to use this draft to address the issue that they're going to have some holes on defense in the coming years. I think they're going to go with John Moore, American skater out of Illinois, considered by a lot of scouts to be one of the best skaters in the draft. He's a big, mobile defenseman, can play both ends of the ice. That's very important. I think the Habs should go with him. He's got really great instincts and doesn't have a habit of shooting the puck as hard as he can at opposing forwards, like a certain defenseman who wants $6 million a year. Selecting next are the New York Rangers, and the nice thing about a draft like this is that it's deep enough so that even the Rangers can't screw things up. You don't believe me? Go back over the last 10 years and check out the number of first-round picks by New York that aren't in the National Hockey League. Well, they do have a lot of options at this position, and I think the one they're going to go with is Peter Holland, a center who played for the Guelph Storm. They cannot move Chris Drury, obviously, so they're stuck with him. So Holland is a nice backup. He's not the fastest skater in the world, but he's a smart player. Very good hands, knows when to shoot the puck, when to pass it, and when to just dump it behind the net and start forechecking. I am thinking this will fit very nicely with a Rangers team that doesn't seem to really do a whole lot of anything out there and basically seems lost half the time. So I'm saying Peter Holland to New York.